On behalf of Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom and Care, we would love to welcome you to our series Breaking the Silence, where we are trying to shed light on humanitarian crises in 2022, covering challenges countries are facing which didn't receive the media attention they deserved. And it is number 4 in our series. And today we're going to shed light on Malawi and the humanitarian challenges there. As you might know, Malawi is facing multiple shocks. 80 million people, including 9 million children, they are affected by a widespread cholera outbreak, which causes increased food and nutrition insecurity. And obviously, we are dealing with challenges caused to climate change. It was recently tropical cyclone Freddy that affected Malawi, and flash floods, mudslide followed, and the situation might get worse in the next weeks to come. So this is the dire reality of the situation Malawian people are facing right now. And that's the reason why we're going to analyze their situation, trying to figure out where our humanitarian help is coming from, what the future is holding, and even trying to shed light and hope on the future when it comes to empowerment of Malawian people. And therefore, we're very happy to be joined by our panel. We have been inviting 2 ladies for the time being. It is the first one is already with you, and I'm very, very happy to be able to introduce to you Laura Criado Lafuente. She is Deputy Director, Country Director Program Care International in Malawi. And she has been working in Plan International, Malawi, in Bangladesh and Colombia, and has more than 10 years of experience in humanitarian and development context. So it is a huge pleasure and honor to have you with us. And we are sure you are shedding light on the situation on the ground. So warm welcome, Laura. Love you to have you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. The second person we are expecting is Mefatu Jumbe. She is Managing Director of Marthe Farm, which is a dairy farm and is one of the very few women in Malawi who are working in this sector. So she hopefully, when she will be able to join us, she is going to address the entrepreneurial situation for women in Malawi. And she's going to address grassroots activities and women's rights. So that will be fantastic when Mefatu is going to join us. But for the time being, it is Laura who is with us. Before we are going into our discussion and the questions, we would like to give you a better understanding of Malawi, because not each and every one of you might have had the chance to travel. So we prepare 2 slides to give you a better understanding of the challenges Malawi is facing. And we are starting with the first one, where you can see the geographic position of Malawi. Currently almost 20 million people. Humanitarian indices are quite low. We just picked 2 of them. For example, the Human Development Index 2022 ranked Malawi in position 169 out of 191. So this is pretty low. moving on to Gender Inequality Index 2021, it was ranked 142 out of 162. So apparently there is still a huge room of improvement when it comes to gender equality and participation of women in civic society. And we're going to address that in the course of our discussion. We've got a second slide for you to just give you an idea of the urgency of the humanitarian situation right now. As of now, we are seeing more than 5 million people who do not have enough to eat. So there's food insecurity is a main topic in Malawi. We've got over 27% of children malnourished. And on top, we've got a population infected with HIV. We've got 10% of population. So this obviously is an older topic, older in the sense of that is a problem Malawi had been facing long ago. But yeah, anyhow, the situation has to be addressed in the course of our discussion. Yeah, Laura, I would say it is our turn to start our discussion. Before, I would love to invite our audience, if you have questions, if you've got comments, please join us, be part of our discussion. We do welcome your part very much. So, Laura, give us an idea, please. What is happening on the ground? I know CARE has been working in Malawi since 1998. You have been facing the outbreak of cholera recently, and you had to address the consequences of Cyclone Freddy. So, I mean, I bet there's a lot on your table right now, right?
Yes, unfortunately, we have been facing different disasters in the last years. As you rightly mentioned, we started with a cholera outbreak 1 year ago in 2022 with the first case identified, and through the months of July and August, we saw an increase of the numbers and the districts affected by cholera. The main concern has been up to now on the fatality rates, and also this is the highest cholera outbreak that Malawi has faced ever in the story, as we have registrations. So the fatality rate case is at 3%, and as per the WHO standards, this should be below 1%. That means that we have a high number of dead population because of cholera, and has been challenging for us as CARE, but also as a sector to fight against the fatality rates. The main reasons for that have been the assumptions at community level, the beliefs and traditional beliefs against cholera that have been the root cause for communities to avoid reaching for health assistance and ask for health assistance on time. So CARE in Malawi, through as part of the health sector response, we have been working hand in hand with Ministry of Health, ensuring that there is a behavior change communication campaign in the districts that we work as CARE, to ensure that we shift those beliefs and we encourage the communities to demand for the health services that they need once they are facing the symptoms.
Yeah.
So we are sure.
We should mention that cholera is a disease which is promulgated by contaminated water, right? There's bacteria in water, and untreated, it can be fatal, right? So when you said that you had to address traditional beliefs when it comes to cholera, what does it mean? Do people know that water, poor sanitation, and non-clarified water is the cause of the disease, or what were you hinting to?
Yeah, I think this has been the key message that's with the sector, the health sector, we have been trying to disseminate. But the traditional beliefs were focused on not trusting the government official source of information or the INGO's information, and the traditional beliefs were just telling communities that this is a fake disease, that it's not a real disease. And we had cases, for example, of traditional leaders drinking from a contaminated source of water just to demonstrate the community about what they were disseminating. And then, of course, they face the consequences. And we have those traditional leaders that have passed away, right? So with time and through a mass communication campaign, we have been able to increase the knowledge of the communities in terms of how can they prevent cholera. The government has been a key ally in that regard, as they have put in place some disciplinary actions for traditional authorities that were not supporting the dissemination of proper messages, and with some months, more than we wanted, we have been able to curb the increment of the cases, and we are seeing now a decrease in this regard.
Yeah, this is really baffling, knowing that, I mean, there are deaths because of cholera, and people are still putting it as a fake illness or imposed by governments or something. This is really baffling. Yeah, so hopefully you can come through and just try to educate and raise awareness. And I guess schools and what about strategic partners in this campaign to raise awareness? Who are your strategic alliances?
So we work with different stakeholders across our programs. One of them is the traditional leaders itself, right? So we of course try to work hand in hand with them. We try to share evidence-based information, because at the end, they are the authorities that the communities trust. So it's very powerful if it's the traditional leader, the one disseminating the messages. Then we use as well what we call as Care Malawi, the humanitarian partnership platform. Care Malawi started last year supporting 10 national NGOs in 10 different districts to enhance the preparedness capacities of local NGOs to respond to disasters. So we invested in capacity building. And now, during the emergency response for cholera and also for Cyclone Freddy, we were able to support them with flexible funding to ensure a timely response in the field. So they have been our key partner in terms of implementation of the cholera response on the Cyclone Freddy. They have the volunteers in the communities that are every day to reinforce the messages that we support through the behavior change campaign. Yeah. So these are the key strategies, and of course through Ministry of Health, as the distribution of chlorine and other items is done through the Ministry of Health structures, especially through the last mile, a frontline health worker that is appointed at the community level, what we call the HSA. So they are key partners for us in terms of implementing the cholera response.
Yeah. Talking about other challenges, I mean, we had been addressing Cyclone Freddy, who has hit Malawi, and obviously it's not the first time that tropical storms do hit Malawi and cause tremendous outbreak of floods and muds and displacement of people. And how are you involved in this emergency relief action plan?
Sure. As Care Malawi, we are one of the key respondents and first responders to the Cyclone Freddy. Yeah. Through our humanitarian partnership platform partners, we started before the cyclone hits. So when the cyclone was forecasted in the weather forecast information, we supported through flexible funding our local partners in the field to support with what we call early warning messages. In Malawi, there is a decentralized structure from disaster risk management, and there are what we call village committees at the last structure from the district, that are the ones that have been trained to disseminate disaster-related information. So they are the ones through SMS, through radio, through different means at the village level to disseminate the forecast of the cyclone. So we supported local partners to ensure that they had the fuel, the human resources, and the logistics to disseminate those messages on time to promote the evacuation of a population in risk to the evacuation centers. So if we compare, for example, the impact of Cyclone Anna last year, that's impacted Malawi, and Cyclone Freddy this year, we have seen an improvement in terms of the evacuation of population to the evacuation centers. However, this is not speaking to the fatality rate that we have seen for Cyclone Freddy this year. So this year we have a lot of fatalities. We have 700 people that have lost their lives, and we have still more than 500 missing bodies still that we have not recovered. This is in comparing with less than 100 last year. It's a huge difference in terms, and this is the main cause that we are seeing as a sector is because of the mudslides and landslides that are happening this year. If we compare with Cyclone Anna, when we have done what we call the interagency assessment to understand more the causes and the impact, the communities are telling us and has been a learning that this impact is happening because of the deforestation of the mountains. So because there are no trees, they are now facing the landslides that have been the root cause of those fatalities. And we have seen a huge impact in districts that were not traditionally impacted, as for example, Blantyre district. So in this regard, the early warning system worked better, but on the other hand, deforestation is working against seeing a positive impact of those messages, because we were not ready for those effects if we compare with Cyclone Anna.
Yeah. I'm sorry, please. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of the scale of your operation, of the relief operation care is offering in Malawi? How many people are you addressing, supporting, helping in the affected areas?
Sure. So in overall, Cyclone Freddy has impacted more than 2.2 million population.
Yeah.
This is affected population, including disaster displaced and other affected population. Just to be mindful that this represents near to 10% of the total population of the country in terms of affected population. So from that 2.2 million, CARE has a commitment globally as an organization. CARE has a mandate to mobilize resources to reach 10% of the affected population by the disaster.
Yeah.
So our target is to reach out to near to 220,000 population. We have mobilized resources at this stage to reach out to 58,000 population. So our reach up to date after 2 months of response is 25% of our target. But we have commitment, as we did last year with Cyclone Anna, to continue to our response through what we call early recovery. After the 3 months first response in terms of saving lives, we will continue to support those communities to recover their assets, to continue with their lives as before. So we hope to continue with the commitment of reaching 220,000. We are working in 4 districts that are the most affected districts in terms of numbers. And we hope we are working with shelter kits. So we are providing temporary house materials for especially targeting the displaced population that have lost, all the houses have been destroyed. Yeah. We are also supporting with wash items to ensure sanitation and source of chlorine for the source of water. And then we are working on gender and protection. This is one of the key added value that we have as an organization. We ensure that we support the local protection referral systems to prevent gender-based violence in the camps where the displaced population has been living, as well as the community level, because most of the time the perpetrators will come from the community outside the camps. So we provide awareness messages to inside the camps, outside the camps, and we support with capacity building, the disaster camp, so with the displaced camp management, as well as with the protection systems at district level to ensure a case management and referral system to ensure a proper response to GBV cases.
So working with women and girls, so particularly vulnerable parts of the Malawian society, seems to be a strategic key part of your programs, right? You really want to aim to empower women, not only in this disaster relief outline, but on a general basis, right? How does it look like empowerment of women and girls, vulnerable groups, minority groups in Malawi? What are lines of work in these fields?
Yeah, as care globally, and of course in Malawi, we believe that we will be able to achieve social justice once we have achieved gender equality. There is no social justice without gender equality. In that regard, we have what we call a gender transformative program. And what looks like is that we work at 3 different levels. We work at individual level with women and men. We work with both, and this is very important for us. We will not achieve gender equality if we leave 50% of the population. In this case, will be the men, right? That are the ones holding the power, are the ones that they need to create the enabling environment for women to make their own decisions. So it's critical for us to work on individual level with both. So we have leadership programs for women and we have leadership programs for men, and we call them women champions and men champions for gender equality. In this regard, they are the ones cascading the key messages at the community level, and they become the ally. So it's not scared as an international NGO going to a local community sharing messages about what is gender equality. Is their own trusted village members telling those messages there. The second level that we work when we talk about gender transformative program is the one at social norms level, and social norms involve community beliefs. We work hand in hand with religious leaders. We work hand in hand with traditional leaders. And we have different behavior change campaign approaches in this regard. Sometimes it's about the gender champions, women and men champions, for example, especially with youth leading what we call theater for development. This is theater at the community level when they showcase the situations that are happening and are very, very impactful for community members to understand what a harmful practice is for a woman. We also work, for example, through radio campaigns. Radio is a very powerful communication channel in Malawi, as, for example, the penetration of mobile and internet is very, very low in Malawi. So, but community radio is something that you can see in the villages, you can see in the town, one radio and all community members listening around that radio device. So we try, for example, to mainstream gender transformative messages through the agricultural updates. It's a radio program that most farmers will listen to. So we try to use those popular radio programs to mainstream those messages. And as I mentioned, we work with religious leaders as an allies and with traditional leaders. We, for example, support traditional leaders champions where they are role models for other traditional leaders on some of the areas in terms of ending gender-based violence. And then finally, the third level is at what we call at systems level, that is at the policy change level. So we work hand in hand to ensure that there is a proper policy framework in place In Malawi, as per international standards, we can say that there is a comprehensive policy framework to end gender-based violence and promote gender equality as per the different legislation that is in country. But the key challenge where CARE is trying to support the government is on the implementation of these laws. If there is no budget allocation, and at the end, at the district level, as per the decentralization policy, there is no implementation of those laws, the changes are not seen at the community level. So we really work at the community and district level to support the implementation and accountability of the government to implement those laws and allocate the budget. So this is what a gender program looks like.
Yeah, your day is filled. I bet. I bet. We are still waiting for Mafata Jungwirth to join us. Unfortunately, for the time being, she hasn't managed to be with us. Meaning that you, Laura, bravely are doing this part as a solo part, but you do it magnificently. So thank you very much for that. And again, invitation to our audience: if you wish to comment, if you've got questions, please shoot and just give us an idea of what you would like to be clarified by Laura. Laura, just listening to the ordeal Malawian people are going through year by year. I mean, we are talking climate change. We are talking climate patterns in terms of cyclones and tropical storms, devastating crops, devastating agriculture, devastating infrastructure. I mean, what kind of mindset do you need to carry through and just not give in or just flee? And how are people ticking? How do they motivate themselves to just keep on rolling and just trying to survive and get up and try it again to make ends meet?
So it's very sad. So I'm not sure if I would be able to express what's an affected household is facing. So they are losing all the assets every year. They are not. Most of the population affected this year was affected last year by Cyclone Anna. They were still living on the temporary shelters when Cyclone Freddy came to hit them. They are surviving. And as you have seen in the statistics that you showed after the video, most of the population, so we have 1/3 population food insecure right now. And the expectation for the food insecurity next year is worse than this year because Cyclone Freddy has affected the harvesting of the maize this year. So we were in harvesting time when Cyclone Freddy hit the crops. So that means that the quality and the quantity of the crop has been affected. This will impact the food security next year. So there is the nutrition levels, the water and sanitation system as a structural challenge in Malawi. And population is just facing every year this losing of assets. As an organization, how do we support to overcome this situation? We have a resilience program, and the resilience program is our core program as an organization globally, but of course in Malawi. Especially, we can talk about one big program that we have in 2 districts that is called Titikulane in Chichewa. And the program is focused on the implementation of the National Resilience Strategy of Malawi. The National Resilience Strategy is a 5-year program that is trying to set up a system for the government to support the resilient capacities at individual, community, and government level. This is the understanding of resilience that needs to be at the 3 levels as well. So the projects that CARE is implementing to support the government on implementation of the resilience strategy is supporting near to 300,000 households to improve their assets to be more resilient against shocks and climate disasters. So, for example, we are happy to report that in those areas where the Titikulane project has been working, we have seen that the savings that the families have generated, as well as the investment on the village community disaster disaster management committees have been able to prevent some of the impacts that were affected by Cyclone Freddy. So we have a real evidence about how to invest on resilience in these risk communities, in these communities that are in risk, to support them to be resilient when those cyclones will come.
Yeah.
And we hope that we are trying to hand over this model to the government. This is the last objective, so they can expand and can be scaled up. The project itself works at community level and works at government level to increase the resilience. But basically, it's about supporting with village savings association. So having savings have been demonstrated through research that is one of the key strategies to cope with disaster. We are also increasing other assets like livestock, and of course through the livelihood in terms of supporting soya and groundnuts to diversify the agricultural inputs that they will take.
Yeah, so trying to give affected communities a sort of financial literacy by education, by education, and economic literacy is very much a way to help them empower themselves to go through a crisis situation like the one we have been describing, right? When I prepared this talk with Mfatsu, obviously she would have brought to the table her experience as a dairy farmer. She is founder and owner of a dairy farm in Malawi, and she pointed out that there are very few Malawian women active in this area, agriculture, dairy, animals, and trying to market her products. How unique is a woman like Mfatsu in your view?
Yeah, no, we have a very proactive approach in terms of reaching to women in rural development, so as farmers. So for example, from the 300,000 population that we are reaching through the Brazilian project that is supporting producer groups that have farms, we have a target to ensure that we reach at least 60% women. Mm-hmm. And how we do that, because there are power dynamics at the community level and at household level, right? And we need to ensure that we manage risk in terms of we don't want to put women in risk just because we want to target them, because at the end they need to manage those communications at home when they go back and discuss with their husbands, etc. Yeah. So I could say that there are two things that we do to ensure a safe engagement of women as producer leads, is what we call them. The first one is that in the areas that we work, there is a lot of immigration of the men to South Africa in terms of workers. So you find a lot
of leaving the families behind and trying to earn money, sending it home as a remittance to just make sure families are surviving in Malawi.
Yes, this is the idea, but you find
the theory is that
the most of the situation is that women household heads, they are not getting those remittances at the end. Okay. So they need to find their own means to sustain the family and all the children. So we have a lot of women-headed households in the project, but then for the ones that we have both, how do we promote women participation? Is through what I told before about the gender dialogues, through the women and men champions. So for example, we will have a men champion doing a gathering of other men at the community level, including the partner of the women that are participating in the project, to talk through about the reasons why women should be involved in the development of the family, in development of income generating activities. So at the end, it's about sharing those evidence and messages about what is the win-win approach for the men as well, for them to become allies. So if they see an impact, for example, in the income, they will be more open to have those discussions with the women at household level for their participation directly and their leadership in the project. And then, of course, we work, as I mentioned, at individual level with the women, with their own leadership skills, to ensure that they are able to negotiate at household level about their own participation and make their own decisions. So the gender dialogues methodology from CARE has been proving very effective in terms of, for example, we had a recent gender outcome survey in the project, and we have seen that decision making in terms of the investments of the harvesting income now is just shared decision between the husband and the wife, and the decision is not made by the husband. So has been an increment in the shared decision making if we compare with what we call the baseline at the beginning of the project. So decisions are discussed at the household level and are shared decisions instead of having only the husband. It's one of the key indicators that we measure. The second one as well is in terms of the husband being involved of taking care of the children and ensuring that the investment of the income will go to the, for example, education needs, nutrition needs of the children. And we have seen an increment of those investments as well in the household level. So these are two key indicators that we are seeing progressing well based on methodology.
Yeah. So the hope is that this approach, implying and advocating and using male husbands, partners as kind of mediators to make a more sustainable impact women can have in a community. Do you think that the outcome is a positive one in the future?
I don't think there is a single solution, I could say, or a single strategy that will make an impact by itself. I think it's a comprehensive approach that needs to be. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was wondering, I mean, how much more do women need in terms of civil participation, in terms of politics? I mean, I know that Mufatu is a candidate for parliament in next election 2024. So that would be a kind of impact she could really do in terms of women fighting for gender equality in Malawi. How widespread is political participation of women in Malawi currently?
So there is, of course, Malawi has some quick wins that we need to acknowledge in terms of the government. For example, at government level, the government is committed with the 60-40 ratio at government executive level. I think the main gap, as you can see in the statistics, is at the parliament level. There is no beyond the reserve seats in the parliament. There, if we look at the seats that are elected, the ratio is very, very low. In that regards, there are two actions that as CARE as well we are supporting, and we hope to work more with other stakeholders for the elections of 2024 and beyond. That is about the influencing for affirmative action in terms of additional seats for the elected candidates as well, beyond the reserve seats for women. And then we have been having discussions with local partners. Public affairs committees is our key partner in terms of women political participation. They are a religious organization that have been working with political parties and have this trust from the 6 key political parties. So we have been having recently the discussion about how we prepare ourselves to support the women candidates for next year. And one of the key challenges that we are getting from the women candidates is about access to resources. So men candidates are able to mobilize resources for their promotion, but women, it's very challenging for them to get those resources. So in this case, for example, CARE with, I hope other partners like UN Women and the European Union. In the past elections, for example, there was a program, and we hope to implement this year as well, next year, sorry, that is about having a pool of resources that women candidates can access to do the campaign. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the initiatives that is trying to resolve that challenge. But of course, still mindset change at the ones that are doing the vote, it's also one of the main root causes that we will not be able to achieve if the election committee is not changing the ratio between women and men at the parliament level. So we have seen that in other countries, that affirmative actions are required if we will really want to see a change in the women rates. Men ratio.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Freedom House has ranked Malawi as a partly free country, meaning that political rights and civil liberties are, for the most part, respected by the state. But obviously, there are some critical points, such as endemic corruption, police brutality, and discrimination and violence against women and members of minority groups. Have you observed any of these actions?
Of course, through discussions with, I think that the most affected sector is the journalist in terms of prosecution and freedom of expression. This is what we are hearing in the sector. More than affected directly, of course, there is a human rights commission it takes all the objective investigations for all the cases against human rights, and we support the Human Rights Commission sometimes with resources to ensure that they can investigate and there could be a prosecution of those cases. But still, regarding the key aspect that I think those days we have been saying the last year is about corruption and the imprisonment of the anti-corruption bureau director. That was a key case in that regards, and through the efforts from the development sector and different development partners, the sector was able to release, and we hope that the investigations will continue in terms of corruption. So there is an endemic corruption that is not, but it's very difficult to demonstrate. But we know that the resources are not coming through as they should, despite that there is a very limited income for the government to allocate to the national budget. I think the other sector that is very close to us is regarding the NGOs and local NGOs. The last year, the parliament in August approved the NGO bill, and that came with the regulations that are what we call impacting the shrinking civil society space. There are regulations in terms of registration fee payment that most of the local and community-based organizations will not be able to afford. There are regulations in terms of annual audits to be submitted to the government. And we are trying to support the local NGOs to have those discussions with the government to ensure that there is a proper accountability process for civil society, because of course corruption sometimes is also at the civil society level. So we understand the need for the government to ensure accountability and transparency of the resources that are being implemented through civil society. But at the end, how do we balance as well the space of civil society to act with freedom in terms of the kind of interventions that they can do, as well as the freedom to operate without resources. That most of the time is the main driver for community-based organizations. So we are trying to support that discussion as well. But we are saying that, and local organizations have already published that this is an exercise, a practice from the government to control the civil society practice. So this would affect, I think, the next year report.
Sure. And to be able to continue the work CARE is doing, obviously you have to establish a sort of partnership towards government. I mean, to really allow the flow of action to be steady and sustainable, right?
Absolutely. As CARE, we always work with the government as a partner. We are critical friends with the government.
Yeah. Well, you're allowed to voice it. At least you are able to voice critics, right? You are able to.
Yes, and for example, there is a case in our emergency response, for example, where the local partner was forced by the district authority to split all the resources against all camps, and this was a political motivated reason.
Yeah.
But then local partners, sometimes as they are there with them and they are part of the communities, they cannot push back on some of those decisions. This is where, as an INGOs, we can have those neutrality and come back in terms of these are international resources that should be invested through the humanitarian standards that are based on assessment and needs and gaps. It should not be any other criteria, any other interest should affect the decision in terms of who is targeted. So we can come with that decision on the table and support local partners in terms of when there is any risk in terms of neutrality and these things. So yeah, I think this is our role, supporting local partners. But we, as an organization, we are committed to work with government, and we are committed to support and empower civil society as a sustainability strategy, and to ensure that there is this empowered civil society that can take over those interventions once the environment is ready for us to exit.
Time is flying. There are roughly 10 minutes left. So if you have questions and comments, this is the time. Please shoot. And Laura, you're doing great. I mean, I figure Mfatso will not be able to join us, and you are doing it so great with so much power and everything. So lovely to have you with us, Laura. Laura, talking about Malawi, we have to address the fact that about 10% of population is infected with HIV. So, I mean, how is this factor impacting health system and social security and the whole community?
Yeah, of course, this is impacting the health. Is a burden to the health system in terms of budget allocation to support the population that is affected. So this is why, as a sector, we invest, as has been proven in other countries, in terms of prevention of new infections, as well as in terms of control of development of the disease. And there is a huge milestones and progress in Malawi regarding treatment and access to the HIV-infected population with treatment. Through efforts from a lot of partners, there is a massive investment from development partners, from Global Fund, from U.S. government, UNFPA and others, and there is a big funding to ensure that there are those achievements. Regarding the health system, the key challenge is about, and this is a global pandemic that we have, and as we have been discussing with CARE globally, that it's about the number of frontline health workers that we have. So in Malawi, as per the law and as per the regulation, we should have one health service assistant, one HSA, that is the frontline health worker that is moving through the different communities every day, every 2,000 population. This is as per law. But right now, the rate is, sorry, I will not say 2,000, it's to 1,000, but the real rate is 2,000. So there is no resources to reach out to all the population in this case that has been affected through HIV. Then regarding access to medicines, most of the health centers, they are running out of medicines, and they are running out of family planning methods, and they are running out of condoms. And this is highly affecting the HIV prevention programs, because at the end it's about access to condoms to prevent. Related to that, the key challenge that we face as well is from traditional beliefs perspective. And you can see that as well in the teenage pregnancy rate as well that we have in the country, in Malawi. So the use of condoms is not well seen at the community level, based on religious beliefs. And it's challenging for a girl, for example, 17 years old girl, to go to a health facilities and ask for a condom. This is happening in very few cases. And it's because of the traditional beliefs around that. So there is investment from care and the sector in terms of behavior change campaign as well. We have seen that as well, and one of the influencing calls that we have as a sector is with Ministry of Education to ensure that we would be able to have health workers providing access to condoms at the education centers, as we have seen in other countries. That has been a very effective strategy to prevent teenage pregnancies in this regard.
Yeah. Yeah. There's all right. There's your daughter in the room. Daughter or son is in the room. No problem. No problem at all. We are going to continue our discussion. There are about 5 minutes left. Laura is with us again. Lovely. I mean, the character of HIV has changed because of the introduction of treatment, right, and medication. But as you said, the access to medication is not guaranteed, and I figure it's a matter of cost too. Who is financing HIV treatments on a national level?
So, of course, the government of Malawi, Ministry of Health has a budget in terms of medication, but of course the top up from development partners, it's massive. If I remember well from the 2022 national budget, development partners were providing 75% of that budget, especially for HIV treatment. So this is growth, because I don't have the national budget in front of me, but it's just 50% in terms of, especially on medication for HIV treatment, as well as in terms of commodities. The development partners are providing a huge investment.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. Laura, give us an idea of what is on your agenda for the upcoming weeks, months. I mean, I figure that the planning on an annual scale is very different, right? Because you are always in reactive mode when new crises and emergencies happen, right? How can you plan in advance? I mean, is there a way to do proactive planning in a country such as Malawi?
Well, of course, it's always flexible, right? And it's always what we call adaptive program to the different situations that we face in Malawi. So then we have a business plan that is our country strategy, our roadmap for the next 5 years. It's 2022-2027. So in that organizational roadmap, we have, of course, there are sectors that will continue to work, as I mentioned, in terms of climate justice and livelihoods, health, education, gender justice, and humanitarian assistance. But beyond the program sectors, we have prioritized, and this is what is our agenda and our priorities as an organization, that it's about localization and support local partners' capacities. So this is one priority that we are investing as an organization. Second one is about evidence-based advocacy. We have seen that our advocacy efforts, we want to have a specific objectives, a specific policy changes through social accountability perspective. So we are moving from this support to the government through a social accountability perspective. And thirdly, we are trying to review and be accountable ourselves about. And this is a discussion with the sector. We have been investing for the last 20 years in the country, not only CARE, all INGOs, and the statistics are moving very slow. So we need to also question ourselves and be accountable of ourselves about what is the impact of the investments that we do in the country as CARE, as a sector. And in this regard, we want to move from the traditional community-based approach that we have been implementing, that of course we will continue and we will build on because it has individual successes, through to what we call a social movement. So we want to be a convener of a women-led organizations at the grassroots levels to support them to have the space and the platform to speak up and to influence what themselves. It's what we call supporting a social movement for social justice and gender equality. So we really believe that through a social movement, we would be able to achieve a social change more than focus at the community-based approach. So we really need impact at the scale. We really need a sustainable impact in the country, and this will be our new investment and priority as an organization, trying to be accountable about maybe the approaches that we have been implementing, despite some successes, can be reviewed and improved.
Yeah. Laura, on a personal note, I know you have been working in Bangladesh and Colombia. You're Spanish, you're Spaniard, and you have been living in Malawi for 2 years. What has the country given to you? And I've seen there's a child, your daughter, your son is with you, your family, you're living in Malawi. What has the country given to you in these two years? What's your connection to Malawi?
So, well, of course, then what I'm learning every day from Malawi, and what I'm learning from Malawi is about the resilience of the people of Malawi. So the situations that the people of Malawi is living every day, it's not comparable with what I have seen in Bangladesh, what I have seen in Colombia. In Colombia, there was a conflict with FARC, and I was able to stay there during the peace agreement, and it was very exciting moment, and different challenges were faced by the communities in that case, but the government was there with capacities to support somehow. Bangladesh is the same, despite the challenges in terms of basic needs for the communities. There is a government with enough income to provide support. But the situation in Malawi is about the structural challenges in terms of the government to guarantee that citizen rights. And at the end, when we talk with the parliamentary committees, they tell us, let me know where do you want me to cut to allocate this budget for health and for education, because there is no income. There is no income at the national budget. Of course, we can talk about corruption, but I think that the fiscal reform and these transformational reforms at government level are required if we will really want to see a change. But the resilience of the people is just incredible and admirable. I think this is what I'm getting every day when I talk to people.
Laura, it was very touching, moving, finishing words. We appreciate very much that you could be with us today. I mean, your courage, your perseverance, they are on the ground. We have to acknowledge that too, right? And we wish you all the power and strength to continue your fight in favor of Malawian people. Thank you very much for being with us. If you are interested in our series, Breaking the Silence, we're going to continue with a part dedicated to Cameroon in 2 weeks' time. So please join us, Breaking the Silence, Cameroon. But for the time being, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you once again, Laura Criado Lafuente, and please stay safe and healthy, and looking forward to talking to you again. Bye-bye.